What if the biggest risk with AI isn't moving too fast, but waiting too long for perfection? Welcome to XTraw AI, your podcast series on machine learning and artificial intelligence applications. I'm your host, Raghu Banda. XTraw AI is designed to bring real, unfiltered conversations to enterprises, small, medium, and large, on how AI is shaping leadership, strategy, innovation, and execution across industries. This is not about hype. This is about extracting the raw AI conversations that matter. Today's episode is a thought leadership conversation focused not just on technology, but on mindset, leadership, and navigating change in the era of generative AI. I'm excited to welcome Anjali Kakkadp, a technology leader and what many would call a Gen AI Navigator. Anjali brings a grounded, practical perspective on AI, moving beyond perfectionism, embracing iteration, and helping organizations translate AI ambition into real business impact. In this conversation, we'll explore what it truly means to navigate Gen AI, why progress beats perfection in today's AI-driven world, and how leaders can scale AI responsibly while keeping humans at the center. Let's dive in and extract the raw AI. All right, welcome back to our Extra AI podcast series. And as I've been doing the last few sessions, the idea is that this is now we're doing a thought leadership series, the topic of the leadership series, and this is where I'm talking with different leaders in the context of AI. So, welcome on board, Anjali. So let's, before I get started, I think here today, the idea is that I want to go into a bit of the human-centered AI and also the Gen AI Navigator. So that is what I have kind of thinking about. So in this context, before we get started, I know you often keep talking about things about this Gen AI Navigator and other things. I know in some of your tech career, I think you started a tech career with a mindset of perfect code, perfect delivery, but then later on you realize that in this fast-moving world, I think in the fast-moving technology world, I should say, waiting for perfection, it can definitely slow you down. So before getting into the details about today's topic about getting into the human-centered AI and other things, could you walk us through that transformation? What triggered for you? What changed you, and how would you reshape your leadership philosophy?
So, in latest trends and the latest world, coding is not super high. It is a high skill. It's a very good skill to have. However, there are a lot of options to learn coding, and then there are a lot of tools available who can actually code for you when you need it. So it becomes a lot easier. So what makes you different than others in this current world or in the changing environment? So if you don't go out faster enough, then you'll miss the boat, you'll miss the time. So time has become an inevitable key factor in order to be successful in the recent era, especially with the AI that is continuously evolving. So what I've observed is that earlier we would wait for the perfection, and then we want to really deliver something really amazing product, amazing code, amazing everything with zero bugs and whatnot. But as things are changing, it's better to go faster, better to evolve as you go, because the dynamics of industry is continuously changing. So whatever you wanted 2 3 months ago may not be the case today, because the AI is kind of making your life easy in many different ways. So you have to continuously evolve. So in order to evolve, you have to really deliver fast. You can be scrappy at times, it's okay to be scrappy, but it's not okay to miss the boat or miss the time. So that's the new learning that I see in this new era. Yeah.
Beautiful. I would like to take one step back. I would, before we get into the real conversation, could you tell your backstory or your personal story or professional story about how you ended up being where you are right now at the intersection of leadership and technology and other things? And how did AI become part of it? And how did AI influence in this overall journey?
So when it's a very interesting journey, a lot of people don't get to kind of switch their careers in many different ways. For me, I have been fortunate that when I graduated from my master's, I started as a quality assurance engineer, and then I started moving to automation because that era was about automation. So
Right.
how do you really automate everything that you do with coding? And then eventually the shift started. The product management role was not so evolved when I started my career. Then eventually it evolved and I wanted to jump into product management. So I got an opportunity, took it, moved into product management, and then I became a director of product management for a mid-sized company. So a lot of changes, but until then there was no AI. But
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I shifted from the that role of director of product management to Google, where I am currently working at, the AI era started 2020, 2021. That's when exactly everything shifted the gears. And the way we do work has
Mm-hmm.
changed significantly. Like, the coding requirements that used to be earlier, we don't even look for that anymore. when
Mm-hmm.
when I interview people at Google, I try to look for the skill set which I never looked for in my past. And I have been interviewing in last 10 years. 10
Mm-hmm.
years of my career I have been hiring people. And in last 3 to 4 years, the shift into how we hire, shift into how we do things, shift into what we think, starting from that perspective, everything has changed. So I've seen many different stages of career, and I think in this stage it seems to be the most exciting stage because there are more unknowns,
Right.
there are more challenges. At the same time, there is more support system for you,
Hmm.
with all the things that is available. So that's a little bit about my background and how it has evolved. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's an amazing, amazing journey. I think let's now get into the. I want to get into the first aspect of the AI perspectives and Gen AI Navigator identity. This is where I know a lot of things are evolving the last 3, 4 years, if I may. I know you describe yourself as part of the AI or the future tech conversation. I know, given today's hype and fear about generative AI, which is where it is impacting in every field and every industry, how do you define this role of navigator? Right? I think what responsibilities come with that label for you or for anyone else in this, as a matter of fact, because this is where it's defining the industry and defining the technology quite a bit.
So navigator, it's a very unique term that you pointed out. So very
Mm.
good way to present it. And all the leaders, we all in the industry who have been in industry for at least quite some time, at least 10ish years, who have seen these different changes in the era, it becomes really, really important to understand what are the right ways to use AI. So there are few areas that government is already kind of taking actions that cloning is not allowed, and some of the areas where we are trying to kind of create the boundaries around the data security and more. But how to use AI in the right way, it has become another level of challenge. Especially, like I do talk to a lot of kids, Gen Z's, who are trying to get into either job market, or some of
Mhm.
them are in the high schools, Gen Alpha. And the teachers and the education system, they suffer a lot because most of their thesis or most of the things that they're actually working on, everything becomes all AI generated. There is no
Right.
real thought process behind everything. So how do we still continue to navigate in such a way where, we are still thinking, we are still evolving as humans, and then
Mm-hmm.
we are taking AI as our support system versus AI first and we second. So I think, that tweak in everyone's mindset needs to happen in the right way. And that shift, in my opinion, it will take some time for everyone to kind of
Mm-hmm.
get there, that, humans are still more important,
Yes.
human interactions are still more important, and thinking with your own brain is still way more valuable than asking questions to AI. And AI can generate data, can give you the information which it already has. It
Right.
cannot think for you. And navigation with that thought process across multiple industries can really help. And also being genuine,
Mm-hmm.
that, have you, and in all of these different generations of AI, the next generation. So if we allow people to think right, or at least imbibe that thought process in everyone, that, you as a human, you are always first. You
Mm-hmm.
have invented AI, not AI has invented you, and you
Mm-hmm.
need to optimally use it versus replace yourself in the smartest way. So that is something that I would kind of, give navigation advice to the next generation, and our generation as well.
Beautiful. I think you addressed 2 points here. Um the not only the social media generation, which is the Gen Zs, and also, of course, the Gen Alpha generation, which is coming up, because they are growing up with not only the gadgets or the devices, and not only the social media, but now I think it's become more prudent that the high schoolers or the undergrad folks, they have been bombarded with a lot of these AI tools. And of course, you cannot run away from them, but at the same time, you will have to leverage these tools. Of course, I also educate my kids or people that I know, saying that leveraging the tools is important, but you also need to understand the journey, how you are getting there, what is that you're learning in the process. So this becomes even more important, right? I think so. In this context, I know you've talked a bit about. Uh, you said that AI isn't about world domination, but it's more about automating or enhancing customer service or gaining some kind of a competitive edge. I'm trying to bring in from the personal aspects into the consumer and the enterprise aspects, right? I think given that viewpoint, I'm just trying to pivot into the organizational way about how do you cut through the noise and focus on what is that realistic, value driven AI adoption rather than these unrealistic promises. What are your thoughts on that aspects?
So that's a very good point that you touched upon. Especially, I mean, there are a lot of ways that we are kind of leveraging AI, and also learning how to use AI
Right.
at Google, because, we are like one of the biggest hub of data
Mm-hmm.
across the globe. And how to really utilize the data that you have collected in the smartest possible way and most meaningful way. So, meaningful way, so, intent driven development helps so much. So, understanding the intent of the user journeys, for example, if you are working on a sales space,
Mm-hmm.
there are quite a few tools out there today, and
Mm-hmm.
most of the tools have some or the other way AI imbibed into it. But do you really need all of these AI driven tools? First, ask that question: what is your use case that you are trying to solve as an individual? On the sales navigator journey, you want to identify what are your best top customers that you want to have calls with, who are your highest priority people that you want to connect with. Okay, then AI can help you prioritize based on the data that you provide to AI. So prompt engineering becomes like the most valuable skill in this era. So if you are really, really smart about prompt engineering,
Mm-hmm.
along with what you exactly need as a user, and then you have your path carved, then you can use AI in the most optimal way. And that can make your life a lot easier. But if you are confused on, I want to create a deck, another example, and
Mm-hmm.
help me create a deck to present AI driven development.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not the best use case for you to present something which is generated by AI and to share with the people around you. So sometimes it becomes a very interesting how prompting helps
Mm-hmm.
any individual, and how do you navigate from the prompting itself, and then create your own use cases and then work with AI to get that done. Like for example, if you want to create a status report, you ask AI, then that is the right use case of AI. If you have 10 different documents, you probably don't want to go through all the documents. You put all of them in at one place, you give as an input to AI that summarize it all, and you, because you have been imbibed in the system, you know what are the important aspects that you want to share with the teams. So whatever report has been generated, you as an end user need to kind of verify and evaluate whether the information that is coming from AI, even after evaluating all this document, is that right or wrong. Otherwise, it becomes a jumbled information which is not always very useful as a
Mm-hmm.
as a good AI user. So there are multiple ways that AI can reshape or make your life a lot easier, but by using it thoughtfully, meaningfully, and in the right way.
Right. I think beautiful. I think you put it in the best way possible, like explaining like how well. I think there are different ways of how we use it. I think leveraging, pulling different kinds of reports and then generating an AI generated report or is one thing, but what is the end use case that you're trying to address? So these are some of the things that you will have to get in there. I know there are quite a lot of misconceptions leaders have about AI today. I know living in Silicon Valley, I think we come from a different background, or we understand that things are happening in this way. But what is that you see as the biggest misconception, especially to those mid-sized companies or small and medium companies or enterprises that are not Silicon Valley based startups? Because there is a huge misconception, because everybody wants to jump onto this AI wave, and that is where things are kind of people are navigating, or sometimes lead to some kind of misconceptions. Uh, what do you think is happening there?
That's a very good point that you brought up, because we even it's you're talking about people outside the Silicon Valley
Right,
or
right.
not tech. Even in tech, there are a lot of misconceptions. Use how to use AI. So a lot of people think that we can just give the prompt to AI to generate an app or create an app, and then app will be created. There will be an MVP. Guess what? It's not true.
Hmm.
It can only do a job until maybe 60 to 70%. The 30% is
Mm-hmm.
a real skill
Mm-hmm.
that you will have to put in order to make it really MVP. You don't go with AI generated app as an MVP out there as a
Yeah.
startup founder, or even as a mid-sized company. People, a lot of founders, and I do meet with a lot of founders because I am also an advisor in some of the startup communities, and I work with lots of young generation people who are trying to get into the market and understand how technology works and how to go to market and whatnot. So with all these information, a lot of people think that AI will generate a report for me, and
Mm-hmm.
I will share that with my customer as a startup founder. AI will create the app is already created by AI. It's fully functioning, and then as soon as you click on the sign up or login, and some of the basic workflow, you'll find first three steps you'll find one issue that it will
Mm-hmm.
not work.
Mm-hmm.
Because AI can create, it can write code. That is true. But AI cannot compile it for you. AI cannot serve you all your use cases. You need to serve your use cases. And you cannot completely rely on it. You have to keep at least 30 to 40% charge on yourself in order to work with AI to make it all successful. Otherwise, it will not become a full 100% package. It will be like at 60 to 70% package. And that is exactly where the biggest misconception comes in. And a lot of people think that why do you want to invest in developmental cost? Why do you want to invest into content writing cost? Why do you want to
Right.
invest into video creation cost? But AI can do it. AI can modify your content in certain way. AI cannot create it for you. So there is a difference how to work with it versus let it empower you, but
Mhm.
not let it overpower you. I would say it in that way. So just keep that concepts very clear when you are working with AI, that you will be still responsible on doing your own thing versus AI will do it for you.
Right. I think you brought this point about like you need to understand what you're trying to address rather than just using the tools out there and generating what is available. So you need to go to the market, you need to understand what is that particular business problem or the problem that you're trying to solve, and then leverage these tools that are available. In that way, I think you get better benefits out of it. So now, getting to the aspect, I want to get into the topic about how do we the bridge the gap between technology, the leadership, and the business value, because this is where, on one hand, you have the technology is rapidly changing, and then we have the business value. You need to bring business value to the technology that is rapidly changing. This is where leadership plays a big role. So here, from your point of view, when a company A attempts to move from experimenting with AI, like doing some quick prototyping or proof of concepts, to actually scaling AI solutions, because this is where many organizations are struggling, whether it is small and medium businesses or big businesses or whatever, wherever. There are a lot of things happening, right? Like you have, it's easier to quickly create a prototype, but when you get to that actual aspect of scaling, that is where you see most organizations are struggling. I think there might be, do you think, is it because of the culture, or is it because of the governance or the talent or vision? What's the critical factor that is needed to scale from a normal prototype to get into productionalizing it or productizing it and scaling?
I think all these different factors that you mentioned, vision, leadership skill, technology, people, all of it play a very big role in this. But what seems to be the most important or impactful is the business value.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is a feature in the industry, or if there is a product in the industry, and we can talk through examples. For example, if you remember, there were Google Assistant days.
Yeah.
Google Assistant actually used to be a really good product.
Yeah.
Nowhere now, it's not visible anywhere. Why? Because the product was built with some vision,
Mm-hmm.
not full clarity. And the reason I'm talking through example is because people have used Google Assistant in their
Yeah.
day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So, Google Assistant was doing very good with certain aspects of being assistant. For
Mm-hmm.
example, set a timer, create an alarm, or set a routine. But when that set a routine was there, and I'm a very active user of technology, so I can, really talk about like every single detail about every single feature in this scenario. But we'll not go into details. Where it actually failed is that it could not serve the purpose
Mm-hmm.
of all the human beings because it was not a business value driven product.
Okay.
If a product, it can be scaled, like scaling for some mid-sized company may not be that big of a challenge. For a small company it can be a challenge, but how do you really understand whether your proof of concept is value driven or impact driven or business value addition to anyone's life? So when we are thinking of that, vision and planning plays very big role.
Mm-hmm.
Once you understand that this is your vision and this is the problem that you're actually solving for people, and
Mm-hmm.
for this problem people are also willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing in this industry will work for free for a long period of time. So that is another major challenge that a lot of people fail to understand. But when you are talking about business value, is nothing but the finance. So if
Mm-hmm.
you actually bring in some finance by showing the value to your customer and you are solving real use cases, there is no question on scaling and going above and beyond. But if these first three steps of vision, business value addition,
Mm-hmm.
planning, if any of these aspect of your thing is missing, then there is no point to scale.
Right.
That itself, from that stand, you there is a very high chance that it will be a failure if there is no business justification to anything that we do.
Right. Right. So I think you brought up some important points to note, right? I think you need to start with the aspects of the vision, the planning, and then the business value. And then if all these things are tied together, obviously the prototype that you built will be easily be able to productize it, and then you'll be able to scale it. I know there are a lot of leaders who are also cautious about AI. I want to get into this aspect of they are there are fearful of the different risks that are involved. Now that, okay, let's assume that, okay, you have built, you have went through the vision, you have went to the planning, you have got the right business values involved, and you're able to now scale it or build a product that can scale. But still, some of the leaders are cautious about AI because of the fearful of the different risks that are associated, or the ethical issues that are there, or there are some things you have pushbacks from the employees. So here, now the aspect comes in, how do you balance between this kind of innovation versus the building of this responsible AI? What are your thoughts? Because the reason why I'm bringing this responsible AI topic, uh, slowly pivoting into this responsible AI topic, is this is where we are getting into a stage where the technology is available, you can build the products, you can find the business value, you can scale. But now, how do you? There is a lot of fear coming with this ethical AI or responsible AI. What are your thoughts on how do we balance this?
So ethical AI has been a bit of a challenge in the current industry, and we all go through that. How to use AI responsibly? Very good topic to really go over. Responsibility on how to use technology has been always a challenge. Like hacking has been always there, as we all know, and it's going to continue. It's not that it will stop at any given point of time. The cyber security
Mm-hmm.
and the responsibility across how we use it. So these are two different things, but they're still combined in some ways, right? The motto behind cybersecurity and the responsibility
Mm-hmm.
of how to use AI, they are very similar in the nature. You're being responsible on how to use what resources you have right now, and thinking through everything, that not use unnecessary information to your own advantage, or
Mm-hmm.
store that information to your own advantage in within your or train the models with the certain types of information which is not necessarily the right information for the
Mm-hmm.
company. I think those are real standards that every company should be thinking about, that this is the data that we are using to train our models. For example, I'll talk about this example of Alexa. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
if you are a very active user of Alexa, but there is lately there has been a challenge to work with Alexa, because continuously listens and talks in between when you are, if the device in the particular premises is there and you
Mm-hmm.
are talking within that range, the Alexa will start conversation with you
Mm-hmm.
without your consent, without your knowledge, without your communicating with it. And that itself says that there is some ethical challenges with that particular area. And these types of responsibilities are there on all of us who are actually inventing the AI, that
Mm-hmm.
how do we make sure our customers are safe, we are not utilizing unnecessary information that is coming from there, and then we are not even storing that information in some or the other form. So I
Mm-hmm.
think those are like really check boxes that needs to be checked even before we build something, and think about it. And then once we build it, we need to continuously evaluate how we are responding to every single question or every single thing that is coming to us. And if the response is nowhere wrong, or
Mm-hmm.
it is not sharing some personal information or some critical information that should not be shared. So I think those are different measures at a security level that needs to be applied at every single point: input, output, and even in the middle when the data is being processed. It's all about data. Either it is
Right.
voice data, or it is input from the user on the computer, or it is input from the cell phone devices or any device basically. But all the input should be monitored, all the output should be monitored, and how the process is being happening, that also needs to be monitored. And securing the data is another major thing. Yeah.
Right. So this is where I think again I don't want to bring the term of constant surveillance, because that is where I think again we get into a different aspect when we talk about the constant surveillance. But like you mentioned, I think when you are building these particular features or particular aspects, the data that is getting in there, there should be some kind of a monitoring mechanism involved, so that there are some standards that you adhere to. In that way you kind of say that okay, you're maintaining these standards, these ethical standards, not only while you're developing it, but also during the process of consuming this and also adapting to this. I would like to now kind of pivot a bit into the aspects of the leadership, the culture, and your personal philosophy, because this is where I want to kind of now slowly get into that aspect, right? I know, given your shift from perfectionism to progress over perfection, uh, how do you help the teams to embrace these aspects of iteration, learning, or even failing fast and developing things faster without losing the overall morale or quality of the things that are being developed? So I want to kind of bring in your personal philosophy into this.
I think this is one challenge that we are currently facing even at Google when we work with the teams within Google, because we as humans, we were built in such a way where you need to be on top, you
Right.
cannot fail. Like from the childhood we are grown that way. Every single human, and especially people who work at Google, they are like top notch students in some or the other way. They have a very crazy, amazing, logical thinking, and they're really top notch people. Like when you talk to them, they have something in them which is different. So all these people, when they come together with type A personalities who always want to excel, who are like, I am always right and I cannot be wrong with that. Even the thought process, that's again like philosophy and the
Mm.
psychology, but it plays a very big role in how you act and how do you react in life. So, when you think of that perspective, I think what we have started doing at multiple
Mhm.
organizations that I have worked at is that, first imbibe that thought that it's okay to fail,
Mm.
like that particular thought. And I now started doing that for even my kids and my students who I teach, that it's okay to fail,
Mhm.
it's okay to not have the first rank, it's okay not to have any rank.
Mhm.
There is no rank in life. So basically, normalize life with some of these principles, right? And then, we also prefer to do some activities like team activities. Sometimes, we know what are the weaknesses of the team members. Some are
Mhm.
pretty good at sport, but not good at cooking. So we would do special cooking class just to meet with that team, just to show the best player of the team that it's okay to fail in some aspects.
Mhm.
Once you learn that psychologically, then it becomes natural. Then you become easy. So it's easier to do experiments, and your grit within you becomes stronger. That I want to grow. Growth is a need, not the rank.
Right.
So that particular thinking needs to be imbibed, and we are working very hard on these things. But there are multiple ways how to do it, and I already mentioned some of
Right.
those ways
Right.
that we do it. But yes, that has become a challenge, and now we are kind of learning how to overcome that challenge. As a in the industry, as a leader, I'm also learning a lot of quite a few tactics that how do you do it. But this is definitely one thing, especially with the type A personalities, that how do you make them fail?
It's a
Or
great,
think that.
I think it's a great way of how you addressed this. Yeah, I think I like the way you put it. Like, how do you make people fail and understand, and you learn a lot more when you go through this process of failure. And the other point which you mentioned, which really caught my attention, is about it's about growth. It's not about topping at every uh, opportunity that you get. It's about growth. How do you grow in this aspect? I think this is where uh, the leadership in technology, or how do you, this is where I think you bring in that healthy leadership, right? I think in this fast changing world, so that you're focusing on uh, a few traits and few habits to grow the team and to grow the persons in the team. And then, of course, technology is always there, but I think people, when I talk about people, processes, and technologies, always, I think people are the glue which will kind of make these things happen. I will now come to this important question. I think I term this as the extra AI question, the $1 million or the $1 billion question. I know this is very important, right? Like, from your standpoint, what is your approach to build or nurture culture in a team where AI, automation, or rapid change is being introduced at a very fast pace? So that people don't feel replaced, but they feel that they are more empowered. Because I know we are living in a world of rapid change. We are getting a lot of technology. We are implementing this. We are doing all these kind of things. How do you envision, or how do you put to practice, like, where people think that they are not being replaced, but they are being empowered?
This is very good analogy, and I always talk to my team, especially the development teams, because AI
Right.
has evolved quite a lot in the development area and the content creation area. Other areas AI is still working on. So I also am being active user of AI. I understand it, and then whenever I'm working with my team, like they're like very scared at times that AI is developing so much of code. Why do we need us? Or will there be a need of people like us? And I always
Mm.
say that there may be a different role
Mm-hmm.
that you will be playing, but you as an individual will be always needed,
Mm-hmm.
because AI is not responsible.
Mm-hmm.
AI is not accountable. AI is not delivering. AI is helping you create something that you wanted to create. So who is playing a biggest role here? You is a human or an
Mm-hmm.
individual. So is it possible to replace all the humans? The answer is no, 100% no. Maybe the roles will be defined in a different way. Like, for example, earlier I used to hire people with enormous technical skill set and enormous algorithmic skill set, because
Mm-hmm.
building that algorithm or thinking through that process is very important. But now that there are lots of softwares out there, AI can learn very quickly. Do
Mm-hmm.
I want my resource to invest so much time in building the algorithm for something that is readily available? The answer is no. I want
Mm.
them to leverage the technology and deliver faster than they were before.
Mm.
And that is where AI comes in a play. And with AI, if we deliver 10 features versus earlier we were delivering only 2 to 3 features, think about it. It itself is a growth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, same people are playing that role.
Right.
What is happening is that there is some level of work that is AI is helping to deliver, so that their delivery becomes faster, and overall there is a bigger growth. So
Right.
always look at bigger growth versus thinking of really short term, that, oh, what am I going to do now next? There will always be something next, and we humans are designed to do something better and bigger. that AI itself is a big testimony to what
Right.
we have achieved. So, why do we put ourselves behind? We are not behind. We are ahead of AI. We are the generator and we are the creator.
Beautiful. I think this is where I think you're bringing the human element in on how humans make a bigger chunk of what is happening by leveraging these tools, the tools which can be earlier it was digital tools and social media tools, and now it's AI tools. And technology will always keep improving, but that human element is going to be important. So, with that, I want to get into this interesting aspect of the future outlook about how things are evolving, right? I think looking ahead like 3 to 5 years, I know 3 to 5 years is a long time now when we look ahead. When we, if you think about this, if you could design an ideal AI enabled human centric organization, what should it be like? Meaning, um, what kind of balance is needed between the machine augmentation, human leadership? Because human leadership, you might augment a lot. You can have a lot of machines around. You'll have the perfect marriage between AI and robotics, and then you get now maybe in the next 3 to 5 years you see a lot of I think already Elon Musk is talking about this Optimus robot, and a lot of these things come in. And then there will be obviously ethics and agility will make a big thing. But I think human leadership is one thing uh, which would still play a big role. What kind of balance do you think is needed between these all these things around machine augmentation, human leadership, ethics, and the faster way of how you can grow in the next 3 to 5 years when these things are happening?
Things are rapidly changing, and there will be robots who will be replacing a lot of chores in the house. For example, we didn't have. So we'll start with the basics.
Right.
So some years ago, there was no. We used to do vacuum in our house, maybe 10 years ago, right? And then there was Roomba. I think Roomba was the first one
Right.
which started the automation on the floor cleaning, because that was one area where, we always needed some work.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the example that I want to start with. There are certain aspects of our work which is redundant, which needs to be done every day. It takes up some amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
It has no thinking involved, right?
Right. Right.
So then those types of work or those types of tasks can easily be done by AI, robotics, and more, right? But there are certain aspects like thinking right, doing things right, empathetic management, empathetic leadership, understanding the human versus robots versus AI versus more, right?
Mm-hmm.
What becomes higher priority? All these different aspects cannot be done by AI because
Mm-hmm.
that is very much human centric. So, if I as a leader for my team empower them to think in such a way where, some of the redundant types of tasks in the development, in the QA, in the even analysis, data analytics, and more areas of the developmental cycle for techies and non-techies, there are other different types of work
Mm-hmm.
that can be actually done by AI, which is very much repetitive work. Then, enable the AI or the automation to do that type of work where there is no thinking involved. It is just a redundant work. But wherever there is a thinking involved, take the charge
Mm-hmm.
and really do the right thing. That way you will be able to operate way more optimally, and whatever you will be able to create will be way bigger and better than anyone else can if you
Mm-hmm.
use it all in the right way. So, create the standards around all of it and
Mm-hmm.
then use the AI in the right way. Then, it's like the biggest blessing that at that point of time.
Right. So basically, start with the at any aspect. I think start with the basic foundational principles of creating the standards that you would like to achieve or maintain, and then build leverage AI and robotics, whatever is coming up in future, and to build on top of that. So for the listeners that who are listening in, whether they are like individual contributors or managers or C-level executives, what's that one mind shift or mindset shift? Let me put it this way: mindset shift you believe is critical in this age of AI. What are I know there are a lot of things happening, but if there is one thing that you would want to bring that uh, mindset shift for these leaders or individual contributors or whoever it is.
Just one simple word, I would say, one simple advice: growth.
Mm-hmm.
Growth mindset is everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you plan, if your goals are to grow in
Mm-hmm.
whatever possible way, then you will be able to use AI in the right way and empower people in the right way. But if there is a fixed mindset, or if there is a mindset where, nobody should replace me kind of
Mm-hmm.
attitude, it probably may not work in the next few years or the next era of generation of AI and humans both, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, learn, adapt, and grow. Growth is the key. So, if your goal is to grow, then, everything else will fall in the right place, in my opinion. Yeah, that's just one thing.
Beautiful. I think beautiful piece of advice. I think before I let you go, I think it's a great conversation that we had today. If you would want to leave our audience with some call to action, something they should start doing right away, right now, to prepare themselves or their organizations for the. I know we are already in the midst of this generative AI wave, and we are talking a lot about agents and agentic AI. What would that one call to action that would come from you?
I would say invest your time in the right way. Why I say that is because if you think that AI will do everything, AI will not. That is the fact. But on the other hand, if you think that AI will help and do something and I will do the rest, and then, with that mindset, if you start doing anything, you will have a better chances of success in any role that you are playing. You could be playing the C level, exec level, or in any level of role, basically. So be grateful for the things that we have available today,
Mm-hmm.
utilize in a very thoughtful way, and solve the right problems versus generate more problems. For example, if I have 10 different agentic AIs on my browsers, if I have like 14, 15 browsers open, one agent is doing one other thing, this third things, fourth thing, I myself as a human will forget what was the task that I assigned to the 14th agent, basically.
Right.
So optimize your working capacity in such a way where you can scale yourself versus trying to do so many things at once. Focus cannot deviate, but growth must happen.
Okay. Beautiful. I think I love the way you've brought this together. I think prioritize on what you're doing. I think focus on that, the right problems to be solved. That's a great piece of advice. And thanks for being on our show. It's a pleasure talking with you.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
As we wrap up today's episode, one thing becomes very clear. AI isn't just a technology shift, it's a leadership shift. From moving beyond perfection to embracing speed and iteration to navigating AI with clarity and responsibility, today's conversation reminds us that the future belongs to those who act with intent, not fear. A big thank you to Anjali for sharing her insights, experiences, and perspective on what it means to lead in the age of generative AI. And thank you to our listeners, architects, executives, practitioners, and innovators for being part of the XTraw AI community. If you found value in this episode, subscribe to the podcast, share it with your network, and stay tuned for more conversations where we cut through the noise and focus on what truly drives impact. Until next time, keep questioning, keep iterating, and keep extracting the raw AI. Happy predicting the future with AI technologies. This is XTraw AI, signing off.